Bang.
Yo, welcome.
Yo,
Hey,
you're welcome.
thank you. It's
You're
nice to be
welcome.
back.
It is. It is nice for you to be back.
It is. It is very nice for me to be back. Not for you guys though, just for me.
No.
And
It's nice for
everybody in the
us
chat,
for you
it
to be
stinks for you
back.
guys. Just for me, it's nice to be
It's
back.
no, that's not it.
Okay, whatever. Fine.
You're
You
whatever.
want to argue?
Yep.
I won't even let you. I'm just gonna let you win. That way you can't even argue with me. What now? Huh? What now,
What?
punk?
What?
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is the show where we talk about whatever's on your mind, your worries, your sorrows, your pains, your suffering, your joys as well, if you want to share those with us. We aren't professional psychologists, psychiatrists, or anything along that manner, but we have lived lives, experienced things, and we would like to do our part in sharing those lessons that we've learned with you. Um, we can't necessarily guarantee that whatever's helped us is going to help you, but it doesn't hurt to share. And a lot of times, you guys know what to do anyways, but having an extra bit of perspective, extra bit of support or encouragement can really help you move along down that road that is life and making life the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
Making the best can out of life, rather.
The best can?
But yeah,
Is it like
the
canned
best
life?
can of you'll make the best can of life you ever get.
That's right. I love.
That's right.
Let's make a new product, man. In a life
Yeah,
in
I'm
a
gonna.
can. Canned life.
Can I have a? It's like you can go to like a. I don't know. You get done eating, or you go to a shop to go eat, and you're just like, hey, can I have a can of life? That'd be
Mm-hmm.
something to pick me back up. That's what this show is.
That's right.
A big old can of life.
It's the best thing since canned bread,
Which is actually
which is a thing.
which is a thing. Yes. Have you ever actually had canned bread?
I have. You had it too.
Yeah, I have.
I
Yeah.
brought it.
Oh,
I
that's
brought it that
right.
one
That's
time. That's
right.
where we tried
Uh-huh.
it at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's awesome.
So weird. Can shaped bread. And you just like
Yeah, it comes out.
stick
It kind of reminds
it.
me of what is it? Um, pickled beets? Is that what it is? Oh, cranberry jelly. Yeah, reminds me of
Oh,
Pink
the
Smoke.
cranberry can.
My mom chirped in on that one. Yeah, reminds you of the canned cranberries, where like on Thanksgiving people just plop it out of the can and it even contains the three rings on the top and the bottom that pressed in from the can.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
it's
stuff's
disgusting.
stuff's actually good. I've had it. It's not bad.
What, the cranberry?
Yeah, the cranberry. I'll tell
I'd
you
much
what though.
rather have canned bread.
You'd rather have canned bread. I think
I
me
would.
too. Honestly, canned bread was actually not too bad.
No, it's
But
good.
cranberry sauce is awesome. My mom makes some awesome cranberry sauce. So
Well, that's probably better than the canned stuff.
yeah, for sure.
I'm
It's like
sure.
not even no comparison. They're completely different in taste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're already talking about your background there, Joe.
They are. It's the mushroom
His
forest.
background is so cool.
Yep, I got this new background, and it was cool because I looked at it on Amazon, and I was like, "Ooh, I want that," and so I got it, and it looked cool on Amazon, and then I got it and I set it up and I put my lights on it and stuff, and then it like almost glows,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh,
It's even cooler in real life than it is on Amazon, which
yeah."
is rare because usually
Right. Yes.
usually when you buy something
it's
online,
it's the opposite.
it's the opposite. They've digitally mastered the colors for the shopping experience so that when you look at it, you're like, wow, that looks so nice. The black is so black and the white is so white. And you
Hmm.
buy it and you're like, that is a gray.
It's all
That is
gray.
a dark gray and a light gray. Ah, man. That doesn't look anything like I thought it would?
Yes. You know what's really cool about this background? If I sit just right, I have a cool hat.
There it is. Beautiful, Joe. What a most wonderful hat.
Yes. Whatever happened to the
To
shower
the shower
curtain?
curtain, yes. I've seen pictures of that recently. We have, I think, during our meetings, we have weekly meetings for our company, and I was on a, I was browsing what was a couple of weeks ago, and I saw the shower curtain. I'm like, yeah, the shower curtain's awesome.
Uh-huh.
Eventually, someday we got to sell those. That'll be hilarious.
Yeah, we need to find that picture again, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That picture
Do
that's
you not
on the
see it
shower
in
curtain.
chat?
What's that?
Oh, you're talking about the actual picture, not
The
the
Yeah,
picture
picture.
that
well,
the
because we'll
yeah.
need to send the pictures so they can put it on the curtain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Isn't that a moment in one of your videos, Joe?
no, that was taken when Ryan was in Florida with his brother and sister-in-law and all their kids.
Okay.
I think they only had
Yeah.
like 4 kids at the time.
Yeah. Just 4. Now they've got 6. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
All
pretty
right.
productive.
Yes,
Moving
Joe.
on.
Yes, and productive. They're productive.
It's
Is
a
another way of
productive
saying it.
family.
Yeah, a very productive family. But yes, reproductive also. Wow.
Well, you got to be
That's
productive
sick.
in order to be reproductive, and you have to
Yes.
be tired in order to be retired, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case?
Be tired. Yes, that's right.
You got to be tired first, and then and only then can you then be retired.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow. Wow.
That was a
Well,
great show. Good night, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, how about we actually do the show now?
That would be great.
Welcome
I think
everybody.
that's
It's
a
so
good
nice
idea.
to see you all. Ash, Kat, it's great to see you guys in the chat here. I've been reading along. You guys are funny. I love you guys.
Mhm.
I hope that we can do this. Thanks for finding that link, Princess. Appreciate that. See,
Mhm.
Princess is on top of her game today. All right, so
I'm
why
gonna
don't we
make
start
a
the show?
scene actually in this show with the shower curtain.
And just put it behind you?
No, just the shower curtain.
Oh, just the see. Oh, like this, like you just flip to it and you can
Yeah,
just
so you got like the shower curtain, and then so
Yeah.
instead, so like okay, so like say hi to
Yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
right now, right? And so like you see
hi.
Ryan close up, but what if where Ryan is, it was the shower curtain, or me,
And it says "I love you," and it has a very
right?
gazing, image.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
it's super fun. See now Princess feels left out. I got to put Princess on there. See,
No, she.
like yeah.
I
There we
don't think
go.
she
No,
wanted you to
you
do that.
don't. Move on.
I don't think she wanted you to do that, but
She
she is
totally
very pretty
did.
today. So I think that we all appreciate what we saw. All right. So for the 4th time, let's start the show. I'm gonna go through the list of names here, and if you are here, please let us know so we can do your topic. We've got Sparrow, Ash, Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Logan, Saule. Is that am I pronouncing that right? Saule?
Yes,
Okay.
I think. Well, I
Cool.
think.
Saule? Yeah. All right. Meowlido. It's funny because Saule, you've been here for like years now, it feels like, which I really appreciate. And still every once in a while I'm like, oh yeah, how do I pronounce that again? And it
Mhm.
shouldn't be that hard. It's probably just as we said it, just like it looks. It's just such a foreign looking set of letters next to each other that okay, cool. That was correct. Good. Cool. Well, Saule's here.
Yup, and so is Ash.
Ash is here?
Yeah.
Sweet.
See Ash?
Yeah, I know she's here. Well, I think this is in order, and I think we should, yeah, Ashes is time sensitive, so let's do that one.
Mm-hmm. Let us.
Multibon, hey, what's up? Welcome.
Hey.
Multibon.
Welcome. All right.
All right.
So we're ready to do Ash's topic? Is that the one
Yeah,
we're
we're
gonna
gonna
do?
do Ash's topic. So yeah, this is from Ash, and it's you know what? Instead of reading the title, I'm gonna give that over to Princess. 'Cause she's the one that writes the titles now, so it only makes sense that she would read them, right?
It's called Giving Personal Information. I think it's an expansion on one that she had a few weeks ago when you were on.
It sounds
before.
like it right off the bat. That's what I
Mhm.
was thinking too. Yeah. All right, I'll read the title since Joe already did it. Giving personal information, and Princess, feel free to read the title as well if you'd like.
Yes.
All right,
Whenever you're
go
ready,
for
Princess.
it. Whenever you're ready.
I don't know.
Do you want me to put you on camera? That'd be fun.
No, she's gone now.
No,
Oh.
Bye-bye.
I'm gone. Can't see.
Wait, what? It's an owl.
It's an owl. That's cute, owl.
As I fall apart over here, everything is fine.
Yes.
So now I can't really go on Discord much anymore for a while. So now I do have a reason to give that guy my number. He does have one of my emails, but he rarely uses it and says that he doesn't check his own very often. But now I have no idea what to do. I trust him more now because I thought that if he was around one of my friends, he might act differently. But he was the same kind and funny person, and if anything, he acted happier. So I'm thinking of giving him my other phone number and seeing how that goes for a bit before giving him my main one. Do you guys think that's a good idea? Or should I just wait until I can use Discord again to talk more to him? Love, Ash.
Awesome. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you for this. My quick and short answer is, yeah, go for it. But maybe Joe will have something else to say, you know? That's kind of interesting. You know, we talked a lot about this last time I was here, I think. And you know, there was all sorts of different stipulations of, you know, just trying to figure out how, if you can trust the person or not. So it seems like you've done your due diligences and you've found that they're a relatively trustworthy person. And we appreciate that you've come to us to ask these questions. So I'm going to get out of Joe's way and see what he's got to offer.
You're gonna get out of my way, man. Get out of my way. Kaboof. Yeah. No, Ash, I gotta tell you, you like Ryan said, you did your diligence. Excuse me, and you have a reason. You know, if you're not gonna be on Discord, you have a reason now to have a line of communication outside Discord. As you said, he has one of your emails, but he rarely uses it, so he doesn't check his very often. So, I mean, using your best judgment at this point, if it were me, I probably wouldn't have much difficulty giving my phone number. I mean, it's a person you want to continue a friendship with, right? And so, there have been times in my life when I'd strike up a conversation with someone at a store or at a bank or in line somewhere or whatever, and we'd talk for a few minutes. I had never known this person before, and then we'd exchange numbers right there. You know, we'd talk for a few minutes and it'd be like, hey, you know, I really enjoy talking to you. You know, what's a good way to get a hold of you? Give me your number, whatever, something like that, right? And or maybe it would be nicer than that, or I might say, here's my number. What's yours? You know, or pull out my phone and be like, hey, you know, what's your number so I can call you? And then I'd call and or send them a text or whatever so they'd have my number. Either way, we'd exchange phone numbers right there off the bat. Now you're dealing with this person online. I do have a question for you, Ash. Have you been in a VC with this person yet? And oh, I see you also. I also have another topic not related at all, but one of the buttons on my keyboard keeps coming off, and it's the one I frequently use, and I don't know how to make it stay, but to where I can still press it. Okay, easily, yes. Yes, many times you've so you've spoken with this person in a VC, and so you've basically already had a telephone conversation. And you're saying, okay, you're saying you have two different phone numbers and you're going to give him the other one before the main one. That might be a great way to go. So, I mean, sheesh. At this point, I don't really see a problem with it unless some kind of red flag comes up. But from what you're saying, I don't really see much of a problem with it. So, and even Princess weighs in the chat, you know, totally fine if you want to give him your number, especially since he's shown that he seems trustworthy. And that's really the biggest thing. Do you feel like you can trust the person? And if you do, then really there's no harm in giving somebody your phone number. Here's the thing. If someone has your phone number and they start abusing it, you can block their number. I've done that before. It's easier on Discord. I think on my phone, I only have a certain amount of numbers I can block. There's only a certain amount before they, start, the phone company starts having a hissy fit about it or whatever. But I actually had to do that once when I was doing inspections. There was, we had these certain kinds of inspections where we'd have to call and make an appointment because they were having work done on their house that was insurance related. There was like damage to the house. They had to have repairs done. So my job was to go and make sure that the repairs were being done. And then after my inspection, the money to pay for the repairs would then get released to the homeowner so they could then pay for the repairs, right? So I was kind of like the doorway to them getting their money. And it was always a frustrating experience. It was super frustrating. And this guy, I got this order and it had his phone number. I called him up and he was nice to me on the phone. He was I could tell he was a little bit antsy. He was kind of, a little bit upset and whatnot. But the funny thing was, so I talked to him. I set the appointment to go to his house and do the inspection. And then I got a call from my client who sent me the order, and they said, you need to not do this appointment. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? They're like, he called our office and he was extremely rude and he said a bunch of swear words and he treated our call person like really horribly and was really, really mean on the phone and offensive and just everything. And you need to not do this inspection. And I was like, okay, well, I already set the appointment. They're like, okay, block his number. And I was like, really? Block his number? Why? They're like, 'cause we're going to call him and we're going to say we're sending it to a different company. And he's probably going to try and call you. So block his number. And I was like, okay, I guess, And before I had a chance to block his number, he called and left a message on my voicemail saying, hey, there's something going on, blah, 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 blah. We do have an appointment. You better be at my house, blah, 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 this and that and the other thing. And he left this message on my phone. And the funny thing is while he was calling me and leaving that message, I was driving past his house.
No way.
Like he didn't know it, obviously. But I was like, I looked at the address. I was like, oh, that's his house. That's him right there.
He was calling you at that same moment. That's amazing.
I know, it's funny. Excuse me. But that's the only time I've ever blocked somebody. It's pretty rare. But the only reason I told that story was because you have that option. If you give somebody your number and it turns out that they're not what you thought they were, you can block their number. And then they wouldn't have the way to get in touch with you. So you do have options, even after you give them your phone number. But at this point, Ash, it sounds to me like you've scrutinized this very, very well. And I'm impressed. You have a reason. You have a reason to give him your number because you're not going to be on Discord very much. You've already had numerous voice chats with the guy. And he seems trustworthy. And at that point, I don't see a problem with it. But, probably what one of the best things I can do is give it to Ryan because he also knows way lots about this cool stuff. So, Ryan, I'm handing it to you. You take it away.
I don't know about that.
You take it away from me. Quick.
Okay, I'm going quick. All right, as fast as possible. This is my topic now. It's not yours, Joe. You shut up. All right.
That's right.
I don't know. Anyways, yeah. I mean, obviously, I've said before, just as the topic started. Yeah, sure, go for it. I think you should give the person your number if you trust them. You've done your due diligences, and it seems like everything should work out. Here's here's one thing I'll say about this. You came to us with this question, and you mentioned in the chat even just now, you have some trust issues, right? You said, I don't think he's like that. Okay, you were responding to somebody else with that comment, but I still have major trust issues. And I understand, Ash. I happen to know a bit of your history because of the amount of times that you've posted on here with different things. And we've been blessed to have you do that for us. But you've experienced a lot of hardship with friends in your life. Friends, not necessarily being all trustworthy or just kind of disappearing on you and abandoning you and things like that. So I totally understand where you come from on that issue. Um, but I really appreciate that you are doing the things that require trust, and you are stepping over that line, because trust is an important thing in life. I think there's a lot of people who will live their life saying trust no one, and I actually know a lot of people like that. And I'll tell you what, I don't know anyone that has that attitude and is also happy in life. I don't know a single person that says trust nobody, and then I look at them and they have a great attitude all the time, and life is just dandy. It isn't that way. I think there's a sense of self-love that comes from the ability to trust others. Happiness is being satisfied with yourself and your situation in life. Generally speaking, that's generally what happiness is, right? Being satisfied with yourself and your situations in life, right? And if you want to be satisfied with who you are, right? One major stepping stone for that is understanding that you can handle it, whatever is thrown at you, right? If you go through life being afraid of everything, you can't be afraid and satisfied at the same time, can you? Right? You can't be. You can't be afraid of something and satisfied at the same time. No one's satisfied with their fears. Fears overtake us. They force us to have certain reactions and things like that. Well, not force us, but they kind of push us in that direction, right? We are the ones that control ultimately what we do, right? Our behaviors, our attitudes, etc. But if we don't keep ourselves in check and we just give ourselves over to our emotions and to our fears about whatever we're worried about in life, happiness is really hard to grasp, because, like I said, you can't be satisfied with that. No one's satisfied with that. So I just really appreciate that you are going out of your way now, despite the amount of times that your trust has been broken and you might have trust issues. You're going out of your way to ask this question to us, to really contemplate this and move forward in this realm of trust by giving someone your phone number, someone you met online. You've now talked to them for quite a while, and you guys are good friends and that stuff. So I think it's super great. I just wanted to say I commend you. I'm proud of you, and I want you to continue down that road, regardless of whatever happens with this person. Because here's the thing: none of us are perfect, right? And we're all capable of doing stupid stuff, having faults, and etc. Right? But and eventually someone's going to break your trust again. That's just the way it is. But if you live your whole life not being able to trust anybody, it's just not satisfying. And it's hard to be happy with that kind of life. I'll tell you, like, it's, I guess a good analogy would be like, you know, I used to really like cookies. But one time I got this cookie. Actually, it happened more than once. I got probably 5 times in a row. I got cookies that just did not taste right. So now I've put up a wall against cookies. I don't eat cookies anymore. I understand that, maybe some people can like cookies, but not me. I had 5 that were not very good. And so now I just go my whole life now not having or trying any cookies, right? And you look at that person and you think, wow, it's a bit extreme. Can't you just eat a cookie? It's like you had cookies before they were good. Now that you've had the bad side of cookies, like you can't have cookies anymore. Like what's the deal? Like you're traumatized by cookies? It's like, yeah, that's essentially like the same thing as trust, right? You've had good experiences with trusting people. Let me give you an example. You're alive right now. By the fault of your parents feeding you.
By
Um,
the fault? That's a fault?
yeah, yeah, it's their fault that you're alive. It's because you're fed, right? I don't know. Is that fault? Is that blame by their blame? Is that the better word? Is that responsibility? It's their responsibility, but regardless, it's their actions, right? You trusted your parents when you were little. You are where you are today because you've trusted your teachers, that your teachers were teaching you the right things,
Mm.
that they were telling the truth when they were teaching you. Every time you go out on the road, whether it be by car or in a bus or whatever, you're trusting everybody else in traffic and yourself and the driver, right? There is a constant stream of trust going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have that trust, life is good. Life is convenient. Life is joyful, right? You can turn on, like, there are even things in entertainment, right? You can go and you can trust that the entertainment you're turning on, you can hope that it's good, and you can trust that they're not going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you look at a piece of entertainment and it hurts you, right? Maybe it shows you things that you didn't want to see. Maybe it talks about things that are not good for your well-being. You're not good for your mental states. It turns you sour. It makes you have a bad attitude or a bad perspective in life because you've watched or listened to a piece of entertainment. Like, you listen to a song and you really like, it's like, oh, this is a cool song. You listen to the lyrics and you're like, ooh, these lyrics, they're teaching me, sex is money and drugs and all that kind of stuff is the most important part of life. And it's like, okay, that's not good for you, right? So when you turn on entertainment, right, you're giving your ears and your mind and everything over to that person that made that piece of entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should we be trusting of that? Ultimately, um, I think that entertainment is good and it can reward us and it can teach us great things, but it can also be bad. And that's just like people, and that's just like cookies, right? So you can't trust everything, but you should be able to learn to trust, and you should give something the benefit of the doubt first, a lot of times, before you realize, okay, this isn't good for me. I'm going to step away, right? Or this is good for me. I'm going to continue this, right? There are many different pieces of entertainment that even today, I was listening to some religious presentations, and they were very, very healthy, very great to listen to, lifting up my spirits and teaching me different things about, God and etc. So I would say that's true for people too, right? You need to don't ever lean towards the attitude of trust no one. That life is a life of sadness.
Mm.
And it is a life where you are very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because when you can't trust anybody, you're just by yourself. And the funny thing is, it's so backwards because when you say trust no one, I only trust myself, really, when you trust other people, it's because you know yourself and you can rely on yourself when they break your trust, right?
Mm.
When you trust other people, it shows more inner strength than when you choose not to trust other people, right? Because, like I said, when things go wrong, if you realize you can fall back on yourself, that's strength. If things go wrong for you and you can't count on yourself, you know that you're going to be a mess. You like things go wrong. Like you give someone you trust and you're broken and you're like, I I can't trust ever again, you know. That means you weren't strong enough inside, right? You actually have to have more strength to be trusting than to not be trusting. So, it sounds like a paradox, but it's the truth. So what I would say is, ultimately, I'm proud of you. Keep on going down this road. Keep trying to expand your ability to trust. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're expanding your ability to stand strong even when that trust is broken. You're expanding your love for yourself. You're expanding and increasing your strength in yourself, because your ability to suffer is not equal to everybody else's, right? You have your own strength there.
Mm.
And the more you increase that strength, the more you're able to tolerate, the more you're able to endure, the more your foundations of who you are and what you believe are tested, the stronger you will be able to love others.
Mm.
The stronger you will be able to feel and experience and give love, because ultimately the true test of love is your ability to suffer for another,
Mm.
right? Are you willing to do the things that you don't want to do? Are you willing to love someone even though they just hurt you, right? Like someone just insults you, they say the bad things on purpose that they know are going to hurt you, and yet
Mm.
you still continue? That is some seriously impressive love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not everybody has that. Not everybody, and I can say, generally speaking, the people that I know, and I don't mean to be mean, but the people that I know that said trust nobody and they live by that lifestyle, by that principle, um, their ability to withstand other people and love them through it, their ability to forgive others, their ability to, show mercy or be kind up front to a stranger, all of that is lacking.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, yeah. Obviously I talked about that for a while. It is kind of the root of your question. That's why I wanted to get at it. And I think that you're already on the right road. I just want to tell you that you're doing the right things. So yeah, I talked for way too long on that. So I'm sorry. I'm
What
going
do
to
you
give it over
mean?
to Joe.
You didn't talk for way too long. It was like the perfect amount because you
All
said the
right.
right things,
Okay, well, whatever.
and it was amazing.
All right, I love you guys.
I love you too. You're amazing.
All right, over to you, Joe. You got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Well, I just would basically just reaffirm what you were saying about how, when you meet somebody who has no trust, that's not a happy life, right? And really one of the best ways to have a satisfying life, like what you were talking about, Ryan, is to feel free. That
Mm-hmm.
freedom.
Yeah.
Now freedom is not licentiousness. Okay, what's licentiousness? That's like when, hey, I can do whatever I want. I have license, right? To just
I
do
like that you
whatever I want.
distinguish. Yeah.
Well, because a lot of times it's interesting. It's interesting because I even hear, I would hear preachers at different churches that talk about this freedom. They're like, oh, we have freedom in Christ. And what they're actually talking about is licentiousness. They're talking about, hey, man, I can do whatever I want. Doesn't matter because I believe in Jesus, right? And so, but I'm like, no. We still have to love people. We still have to be caring of people. We have to, what's the main law? Like if we're going by Christianity, and I know probably not all of you in the chat are Christian, but, if we're going by the Christian faith, the main law is love God and love neighbor, right? Love God and love your neighbor. That's it. And, so whatever we're doing, if it's not loving to our neighbor, then there's probably something a little bit off in there. But it was always so interesting because, when I would hear people talk about that freedom, a lot of people think of freedom, and you hear it a lot in like free speech type of demonstrations and stuff like that, where it's like, I should be free to say whatever I want. Okay. Sure.
Technically, you are to a point.
You are, but still, like, the real question is, if you're saying a bunch of things that are hurtful, it hurts you too. because it hurts your psyche. It hurts you inside. It creates, and it almost kind of binds us, in a way. And so that's actually less free. So, but I've seen lots of people, I know people that are close to me that live their lives in complete fear and worry and concern, and they're just all wrapped up in it. Ryan, you ever met anybody like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They don't look very free, right?
No, they are in constant bondage and fear. They can't
Yeah.
barely get out of their house.
Almost like the way they walk, they almost look bound, right? They're tense
Mhm.
and stressful and everything, and that's not freedom. And to feel that freedom is really, that's what we're hoping we can help you get. And so, Ash, I 100% side with Ryan, and like I said in the first little bit that I said, you've done your diligence. You've done a lot of checking into this, and you've figured it out. You've done a lot of figuring out on this. So, yeah. There should be no reason to fear. Now, it is true that we can be friends with somebody and everything can seem like it's going great. And then all of a sudden something happens. And then we're not friends anymore. Or somebody gets upset and maybe we say something offensive, or they say something offensive, or maybe they don't want to talk to us anymore. Whatever happens, right? Sometimes friendships break down. That can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that event, it's probably better for you to have been their friend than to have not trusted and been all bound up inside. And I love, Ryan, what you were talking about when you said, hey, it deepens our ability to love when we suffer, when we get hurt, when we have those situations, when we love and we trust somebody and we give them the benefit of the doubt and everything, right? And they hurt us. That does a couple things. One, it deepens our ability to love because it's a deep emotion. That pain it almost like digs deeper into our soul. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it is it hurts.
Yeah.
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 It's deep.
And you got this like hollow feeling in your chest for a long time, maybe, it really physically can hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what that does then is that gives us the ability to connect with others at that level. I have experience with narcissists. It's like an actual psychological condition, right? They have no empathy and they're very controlling, right? And I'm actually part of a narcissistic support recovery group, like narcissistic abuse victims recovery group. And I've made some connections in there. And really, honestly, one of the themes that gets passed around between all of us is like, man, nobody else understands. Nobody understands this. And it's really true. Until you've had your world turned upside down, your reality completely manipulated, and your identity stolen, and you've given your whole life to, please this person, and they're absolutely unpleasable. And then they like steal years from you. They don't understand. And not only that, like you get in that situation, you're being manipulated and abused. You actually want it. You become addicted to this. It's called a trauma bond.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that.
Yeah. And so like it's like this crazy thing. But going through that pain helps us relate to each other. It helps us support each other at a level that nobody else can because we've experienced that. So you taking these steps to trust, hopefully everything's great and you stay friends forever.
Mm-hmm.
But in the event, if it does happen to break down, it's better for you to have trusted and to have experienced that friendship and that freedom. And then in the event, if it does happen to break down, it deepens your ability to love. And from what I can tell, Ash, I think I've only heard your voice one time in a VC. Most of the time it's just been, seeing your words on the screen, but you seem to me like a very caring, kind person. And obviously I wouldn't ever wish that you would be hurt, but I also know that if it's treated
But I also know that you will.
You will be
because
hurt.
you're alive.
Yes, you're a human being. And every time that happens, I have to remind myself, because when you're hurting, you're just hurting. Right? It just hurts. And then it's like this, it's hard to think objectively and think, this is actually going to be good for me. Most of the time you're just thinking, man, this really sucks.
Usually for me, what happens like in that scenario, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's perfect. Please.
Okay, usually like it's like you're in pain and you're just like, you have that mental thought. It's like, yeah, but this is going to be good for me, and you start to turn that path. And then all of a sudden you're like back here and you're like, and you're thinking for like 5 minutes again. And you're like, wait a minute. No, I got off this path. How did I end up back on this path? And then you turn off and like for like 3 milliseconds and then you're back on it and you don't even realize you're doing it. It just keeps on happening. And you're just like, no, come on, get off of this train. Like this is just keeps on happening. I need to go do something else.
I'm totally with you,
just
man.
Can't help it.
Yep. It's crazy. It's crazy. We get wrapped back right up into it. So anyway, Ash, you're on the right track. You've done the right things. And hey, you're good. Ryan, you got anything else? I'm gonna send it back
I got
to
nothing else.
You got nothing?
Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah, no, thank you. This has been wonderful. I appreciate the submission. Thanks for allowing us to take another peek into your life. It's so great that we have you here with us and that we're so honored that you would include us in your life and have any sort of dictation or whatever on your thoughts and whatever you do throughout your day. So yeah, we're just really honored that you'd ask. So thank you so much, Ash. You're amazing. We love you, and we hope you the best for your your I guess friendship with this person.
We got a bunch of people wanting to play Genshin Impact.
Yeah, apparently. Sorry, I brought it up. Well, I didn't bring it up. It was fault probably.
That's what I just got that game.
Yeah, did you? It's good.
And I just started it.
Yeah, don't open your wallet.
Don't open my wallet.
Yeah, don't open your wallet.
I can open my wallet all day long. There's nothing in it.
Oh, okay. Well, don't rob you then.
You know where I work.
Yeah, I know where you work. You work for me. I know where you work. I drive to your place of work.
You know where I work. You know my income, and you know what my income is based off of, and you know disposable.
I don't write your checks. The person who writes your checks also works for me.
Yep. And you know what? The president of the company works for you too.
That's yeah, but he's not employed.
He's not on payroll yet.
He's not on payroll yet. One of these days.
Yeah.
The president will also be on payroll. All right. Anyways.
Wait, you're gonna carry me, Kat? Wow,
Oh,
that's so nice of you. Going from not knowing who I am to being willing to carry me. I'm so impressed. We have made some great strides today, Kat. Wonderful.
You guys are getting so close.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Kat, by the way, you're awesome. I just adore you. You're amazing. Okay, I'm gonna run through this list of names here once more.
Yeah, you run through that list.
If no one minds, if you are here, let us know so we can do your topic. We've got Sparrow, Nihilus. We'll get that one. That one's actually, you know what? That one is from 2021. December though, so it wasn't that long ago. Sparrow, Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Logan, Saule, and Meowlido. Nihilus, were you aware you have one on here? I know that you showed up today on a whim, which is awesome. We really appreciate it. Thank you for going for now this topic. And now obviously this might not have been your writing. I don't know who wrote this, but the topic title was job.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like this sounds like you wrote that title. Since it's so short.
I don't know.
We
We gotta
kinda
do it.
talk
Basically
about it.
about working part-time while also being in school, I believe.
Oh, working part-time with me. Okay. We kind of talked about this. You said, did you want us to cover it? Do you want us to? I mean, since you're here, it'd be cool. I don't know if that yes, yes, yes was for covering it since it was Princess Remembers. Okay. Sounds like it was already kind of covered, maybe behind the scenes. So
Yeah,
is
but you
this
know what?
void?
Topics like this can always help others.
Yeah, that's true. That's
You
true.
never know.
Topics like this can always help another person. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you like to null and void this, or would you like us to cover this in the case that it might help someone else down the road? What are your thoughts, Nihilus? Because other than that, we do have a Saule and a Mialido here, so I'm sure neither of them would mind us covering theirs.
Or yours.
Yeah, or yours. Saule, okay, hold on. But I got no problem talking about it again, okay? But if anyone has any other topics they want especially, I have no problem. Okay. So maybe do theirs if they have a topic. All right. All right. Mialido, let's see. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go with Saule.
Okay.
Saule, we're gonna do your topic. I know we talked about doing Nihilus, but it's so great to have Nihilus here, but because I know that topic's been there for a while. But if he's already covered it, what we can do is we can throw that in the backlog on the day that we don't have any topics. Sometimes that happens, and we can throw up this one, which because I'm sure it's a good one. So
It is a good one.
okay.
What's this one called?
So this one from Saule is titled "Be Yourself," which is
Yeah. What does it mean to be
what does it mean?
yourself?
Sorry, yeah. What does it mean to be yourself? I did the quotes. I don't know why my brain just nulled everything else out.
Hey man,
What
give
does it
yourself a
mean to
break.
be
You're still getting yourself. You're not quite to 100% yet, man.
Yeah,
You're
that's
getting
true.
you're getting there.
Yeah, my ears are still doing weird things to me. That
Yeah,
is
especially
weird.
when your head does that. You know, your ears do weird things when your head does
And
that.
well, that's what I do to fix my headphones to put them back center because they sometimes they fall back a little bit, and I just and they get pushed forward a little bit.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
They're good headphones
Yeah.
though.
But they are they're great headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Bear Dynamic DT 770s or 780s. I can't remember now.
880s.
880s. Oh, that's where it is. Yeah,
770, 880, or
770s.
990. I have 770s for this, and I have 990s for actual music production.
Yeah, nice.
Ah.
Okay, Princess,
Anyway.
are you ready to read this topic? Let me know.
Yeah.
Because the topic's
cool.
on screen totally now. So it's ready for you, Princess.
Okay, cool. So
Good.
what does it mean to be yourself? Take it away, Princess.
I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks now. The saying, be yourself, has been used in a few topics, but it seems like a vague term to me. What does it mean to be yourself? Technically, we can't be anyone but ourselves because we only are ourselves. So, what does it mean to be yourself? And how do you be yourself? From Sole.
Sally, dude, man, I love you so much. I love you so much for writing this because this is literally this is me. this kind of question is something that I can just imagine myself asking. In fact, I believe I've asked this very question myself before and contemplated this over a 2-hour setting just kind of like talking to myself, like, what the heck does it mean? Everyone talks about be yourself. I remember going through this. So I love that you're asking this question, not because I think I'm well informed um, at all on this, but because you're asking a question that just really gets down deep to something that a lot of people, I think, don't do, even though they might say be yourself, they don't necessarily know what it means. There's all sorts of different questions out there about things that people just say, like, listen to your heart. Well, what does that mean? What does it really mean to listen to your heart?
It
Right?
means get a stethoscope and stick it in your ears and on your chest, and then you can listen
Right.
to it, right?
Yeah. So asking these questions about like what does it truly mean to be yourself? What does it truly mean? I love these kinds of questions, so that's why I'm just really hyped. I think this is fantastic. So thanks, Saleh. I'm looking forward to see what Joe has to say in response. So I'm go for it, Joe.
Hey, I'm actually looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
I'm not gonna say anything until you finish saying what you got to say.
I might be finished.
All right. Well, guys, let's talk about what it means to be yourself. All right. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you a little quick analogy. Imagine me not talking and then Joe saying all of this good stuff. All right. Now let's make that analogy real.
Is that what be yourself means?
So my name is Joe, obviously you can tell. And I'm going to talk about how to be yourself. No. No.
Hey, I got my fingers on the button. I can do this.
Oh my gosh. I love you guys. It's great. I'm so happy to be back at Don't Worry Wednesday.
Oh man, it's so fun. No, this is a really great topic. And you know what? I might if you ask this again in a month, my answer might be different.
Fair.
Because personally, I mean, a lot of you guys know there's a whole lot going on in the world of Joe right now, and it's like deep soul searching, like ground shaking, foundational madness in a way, right? So this question, I ask this question to myself a lot, where I'm like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing here, right? I mean, I don't know what is even the point. I remember asking my therapist this whole question, right? Like I'm just having trouble figuring out the point of all this because all this stuff is hard. And I don't know what to do. And sometimes we're just like floating through life and we're just, I don't know what I'm doing. Right now I'm following instructions. That's kind of what I feel like a lot in a lot of ways right now at my juncture in my life. I'm following the instructions of people that I've chosen to trust. In particular, there are about 3 people that I've chosen to trust, highly as far as, taking advice and following their instructions. One is a priest. One is my therapist, and one is my attorney. These people...
Priest, therapist, and attorney.
Yep. And part of me feels like I'm just following their instructions. Like, other than that, I'm existing, basically, right? And it kind of goes back into this whole, support group that I'm talking about, because sometimes you kind of forget who you are. So I think one of the best ways to approach this question is not how do I be myself, but maybe a more appropriate way to ask this is how do I not be something I'm not? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I get, yeah, I respect that.
You got it? So rather than saying, hey, how do I be myself? I mean, really, it's kind of the same question, but taken from a different angle. We're asking, how do I not be something I'm not? How do I be genuinely me? Because what I've learned is that if we... how do I put this? There's a fine line between being accommodating for somebody and being a completely different person for somebody. Does that make sense? You follow me so far? Because it's great to be flexible and accommodating and to allow people to, live their lives and to be free, like we were talking about in Ash's topic, and still retain our own freedom. And just maybe some things aren't all that important to us, and so we let other people have their way on that or whatever. Who knows, right? I mean, human relationships can be really interesting at times, right? So to me, right now, being yourself means not being somebody else. And if you've ever spent time trying to be somebody else to make another person happy, that is a non-free life, like we were talking about before. That is a life of bondage. Because you make yourself into something, and then you have to live up to that something, or else face consequences. But even deeper than that, how do I be myself? You could ask, how do I be the best version of myself? Because there's also, there's an attitude you can take with be yourself, and that is an attitude I've heard from some people where it's like, hey, well, I am who I am. I do what I want. If you don't like it, that's your fault. And the funny thing about those people, I am who I am. I do what I want. If you don't like it, it's your fault. You know what? If you do something that they don't like, that's also your fault.
That's true.
Because it's always your fault, right? They've just left all responsibility, all personal responsibility is off the table for them. They're just like, hey, whatever happens, it's somebody else's fault. It's not mine. I'm just going to be me. You do you. I'll be me. If you make me mad, that's your fault. If I make you mad, that's also your fault. Right? And that's not a very good way of being yourself. What I'm learning through some of these soul-searching moments, in a way, being yourself is almost emptying yourself. How do I be the best version of myself? Well, when I have all kinds of desires, I'm in bondage to them. Depending on how strong they are. I mean, obviously, if we have stuff that we want, that can be good. It can cause us to be motivated to move towards something. But we can also take that too far. And it can turn into this almost need for something. And I guess I'm kind of getting to a point in my existence where I'm like, I don't really need much. In fact, I don't really want much. I want the ability to do the things I like to do. I want the ability to do things for BSS. I like the ability to do this show. One of those things. I got this, this background, this mushroom forest background. It was a birthday present to myself. I got it for myself for my birthday. Which, incidentally, my birthday was yesterday as well. Tuesday of 2/22/22.
That's right.
And I actually turned 22 times 2 on Tuesday, 2/22/22.
Nice.
And for those of you who are good at math, let me tell you, 22 times 2 equals 29. It does.
Yes, 22 times 2 is 29, because that's how old Joe is, regardless of whatever the numbers you think add up to what. Joe's 29. Regardless of what 22 times 2 is.
Right. It was funny. So I had to tell my parents, I was like, hey, you guys planned that out well, like way to go, all those years ago, you were like, hey, in the year 2022, on 2/22, it's
At
going to be 22
2:22
times
p.m.
2. Yeah, exactly.
Princess actually has a little picture she sent me of 2:22 p.m. on 2/22/02. Sorry, 2022.
Yeah, yeah, that was great. I got that one too.
Yeah.
I felt special.
Yeah.
That was cool. I was like, yep, that's a lot of twos. And it's hilarious because I was like, yeah, and this birthday was full of a whole lot of number 2 too. So it's like, man, it's perfect. It was great.
That's perfect.
Yes, meow. 22 times
Meow.
2 equals 29.
As long as you're referring to Joe's age.
Yes.
Outside
In
of
any
that,
other
the math
application,
breaks down differently.
yes, it's actually 44 everywhere else, but
Mhm.
it's 29 in my case. But
It's kind of like when you're doing time, like, you know, if it's 8 o'clock and you add 8 hours, it isn't 16 o'clock unless you're military time.
Mm.
Yeah, it's wow, 4. It's 4 o'clock. That took me a moment. If it's, I think a better example would have been like, I don't know, if it's 16 o'clock and you add 16 more hours,
Mm-hmm.
it isn't 32 o'clock. Yeah, that's a better example.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the best things, Saule, to be yourself and to be the best you that you can be, I would encourage taking some time and meditating. And what do I mean by meditating? I mean, I take time in prayer and I also take time in meditation. Now, meditating is a little bit different. Meditating is just kind of emptying your mind, emptying your thoughts. You dismiss your thoughts, right? Where you say, okay, and I have this little saying, if a thought enters my head when I'm trying to get into a meditative state, I'm always just like, thank you, you're dismissed. Thank you, and you're dismissed. Thank you, you're dismissed. And I'll go through this process until I'm not thinking of anything, and I try and focus on my breathing. And what happens is when you can detach yourself from your thoughts and from your desires and from your attractions and from all these different things and just exist in that moment, you just spend some time being. Right? It's not about what you do with yourself. It's not even really about who you are. It's just that you are existing. And so one of the best things you can do is that exercise of self-emptying and take some time simply existing. And it doesn't have to be too long. It can just be like 5 minutes. It can be 1 minute, and it still is incredibly cleansing. But what you find in those moments when you're emptied of your desires, you just exist and you're free. You realize, hey, you know what? I don't have to impress anybody. I don't have to try and beat anybody at anything. I don't have to try and get anything. I don't have to try and achieve anything. I don't have to try and work at anything. I'm just going to be. And what happens then is it kind of clears the slate. And then every time I do that, I kind of always get up and I look around. I'm like, okay. Now I have a list of things I need to do, and I can do them, but I'm not bound to them. There are things that I'm going to do because I want to or I need to do them. But I'm not bound by them, if that makes any sense. So I don't know. I may have gone way too deep on some of this stuff, and I apologize. But like I said at the beginning, I'm having a time of, personal soul searching right now. And my answer could be more developed in a month. It could be more developed in a week. Who knows? So I'm gonna turn it over to Ryan and let him talk because he's gonna save us all from this crazy nonsense that I'm going through. So Ryan, have at
All right. I don't think I'm
it.
gonna save. I don't think I'm gonna save anybody here with this, but I'll try. I think I'll try.
You're gonna do great, I
I'll try.
promise.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. All right. Well, um, so your title of the topic once more was, what does it mean to be yourself? And be yourselves in quotes. It's you said this. That's Salome said this. That's my engineering brain telling me the definition does not fit. I need a new definition. I totally respect that. That's so many things. I look at a word or a phrase and I'm like, that definition is too wide. It's not precise enough to be able to be completely understood in every kind of case scenario, and it bugs me. So I have that engineering kind of mind with you at times, and I think probably a lot of people do. Um, what Joe said, I think, is on point in terms of a lot of times when people say be yourself, what they're trying to say is don't bother being someone else. And by that, they mean don't do the things that you wouldn't do. All right. He's like, well, if I did them, then clearly I would do them. So that's me. No. What they mean to say on top of that is don't do the things that you wouldn't do means you wouldn't respect yourself doing.
Mm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are saying be yourself, because there's a lot of ways to take this, right? Be yourself. What do people say? What do people mean? I think, like Joe said, a lot of people mean just don't go out of your way to do the things you don't want to do. That's what some people mean by be yourself. Don't go out of the way to do the things that you don't want to do. That isn't necessarily good to be yourself if that's your definition of be yourself, right? Because if you're unwilling to do the things you don't want to do, or sorry, of course, that's okay. If you don't do the things you're unwilling to do, right, then you'll never become a better person, right? Don't you have to like do things you don't want to do to learn how to do things or to become stronger or etc. Like if you don't like exercising, but you know it's good for you, but you're like, I'm just going to be myself today. And I'm not going to do the things that I don't want to do. My will is champion.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be very happy with yourself, right? So I think be yourself is a phrase that's a little too wide. Its definition can mean a wide variety of things to different people, ultimately based on their own morals, right? Because if you have someone with a very lax moral system where they are like, you do whatever you want to do, you should do whatever you want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you desire it, then then it's probably a good thing, regardless of whether it's a good thing or not. There are people like that, right? Um, you know, and so their definition of be yourself is a little bit lax as well, right? So when they say be yourself, they might mean be the worst kind of you, as opposed to be the best kind of you. So I would take be yourself with a grain of salt and figure it out based on the person that you're talking with, right? Because if you're talking to someone and you can kind of understand their morals or their background and they say be yourself, you can kind of fetch the definition out of that. Because be yourself is too undefined and too wide of a spectrum to mean one thing, I think, to every kind of person. Um, so that's why I think that's my first conclusion here, um, on the true definition, is that there's no exact definition because everyone's going to have their own meaning for that, unfortunately. But I would say I would side on along with Joe in that it's more important rather than trying to define and follow the footsteps of be yourself. What's most important is also what Nihilus said: be the best you that you can be. So don't try to be yourself, more so be the best you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that's a good rule of thumb to follow, right? Be the best version of yourself. But I will say this as well. A lot of times when people say be yourself, it's under the circumstance that you're a little bit too uptight.
Mm.
So a lot of times when people say be yourself, they mean stop worrying so much about who yourself is. In fact, like a lot of times it's funny because it seems so paradoxical. Once again, it seems so opposite of the nature of the words being spoken. But when people say be yourself, a lot of times what they're really trying to tell you is stop worrying so much about who you are,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really a good definition of the word as well. So, like I said, there's many definitions that you could go with, but I think that's a pretty solid one because a lot of times people say, "Oh, just be yourself. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just be yourself." Or, you know, that sort of thing. Or someone's peer pressuring you. "Don't worry about it, man. Just be yourself." They're saying, "Stop worrying about how you look. Stop worrying about what you look like yourself and how others look at you. Stop worrying about all that mess and just be free to be yourself."
Mm-hmm.
To right,
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's no other way to say this. Just be free to act as you would find yourself in good place acting out, right? Act in accordance with what you think is good, right? Rather than acting with fear or holding yourself back from acting because you're afraid of what others are going to think, or you're in a circumstance where you're being pressured, just let it all go and act as you think is correct. Act as you think is best, right? I think that's probably the best uh, best I can do on the definition of what people are trying to say when they say be yourself. Um, you know, and it's a funny thing too because I think a lot of times when people are saying be yourself, they're not trying to be that deep.
Mm.
They are
Mm-hmm.
being deep consequentially, but they're not trying to be so deep as to make you ask yourself, well, who am I? Because I'll tell you what, you are many things, and you are not what you think you are.
Mm.
Um, you know, yeah, in your topic and what you posted here, I totally get where you're coming from. I think of a scenario that happens a lot online, where people will be online and they'll bully someone,
Mm.
and then they'll step away from their computer and they'll be like, "Well, I would never do that in real life. That's not who I am." And it's like, excuse me, you literally just typed out those things. That's who you are now. That's what you did. That's who you are. You've done those things.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's online doesn't mean it didn't happen. Or, you know, well, that's a good enough example. I'll just leave that example at that, right? You get where I'm coming from, though. um, what you do, you know, has in a sense of who you are is based on what you do, right? But at the same time, it's funny because that's also not the case. As much as it is the case, right? It's also not the case. You aren't a summation of your actions. That's not what makes you who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could take someone who is just born and has not had a single action of their own conscious will, but they're still a somebody and they're still themselves. And to say that they don't exist because they haven't had actions yet, it would be ridiculous.
Mm.
It'd be unscientific. It'd be stupid, right? We are something beyond our actions, and many cases, our actions are to some degree no longer important, and that isn't who we are anymore, right? You know, if you look at someone and you look at them for all the bad things they ever did, and you say that's who they are, you're wrong. That's not who they are. That's a terrible way of looking at people, and it's not a very good way to make friends. It's a really good way to make enemies.
Mm.
People are not the summation of their faults, of all their bad deeds, right? And I would say that people are more close to the summation of their good deeds than they are the bad deeds, right? But that's from a very religious perspective, and it goes down a very deep road, and it's hard to explain that in the amount of time that we have.
Mhm.
But who you are inside, there's this ancient sort of rule that people don't visit now, because people have sort of okay. The ancient world was very smart. You go pick up a book from the 100s, you try to read it, you'll find that philosophically it is incredibly deep.
Mhm.
And trying to comprehend their writing makes you go back to the beginning of that sentence 4 times before you're like, oh, I get it now. They're talking about this, and it takes you 4 paragraphs to say that one thing that was in their one sentence, and it's like, okay, I see why they did in one sentence, but geez, that was confusing. you know. And one of the things back then was who you are inside, your heart. There is a secretness inside of you, and you don't know who you are. But the more time you spend sort of in meditation that frees you from who you are, frees you from your desires, the more and more close you are to really understanding who you are. So Joe was talking about the more he desires less, right?
Mhm.
The more free he becomes,
Mhm.
right? And that freedom is what people are trying to say when they say be yourself, right? They're saying don't have so many worries, just be yourself, be free, right? But when you start removing your desires, when you start going down that road, what you end up doing is you're getting rid of all of this shell that's around your heart, and you're really getting in there, and you're starting to dig into a place that that you couldn't even see before because
Mhm.
there was so much clutter in the way, so much desire, so much outward forces, and it's everything. It's just everything. And there's a secretness of heart that is infinite. You dig in and you start to realize, oh, I I am not what I thought I was in the grand scheme of the universe, in the grand scheme of beyond the universe, supernaturally, or even just in my own being, who I thought I was. And now that I examine myself more and more and more, the more I appear empty and then immediately appear infinite. And it's a really, really, um, it is hard to fathom or explain.
Mhm.
And the only way is to truly understand it because it's hardly even written about because it's so hard to project the understanding. This is just, I think the best way to experience it is to go down the road yourself. And it's a very virtuous road to go down, anyways.
Mhm.
Um, the more you empty yourself, the more full of you truly are. But the fullness of you isn't what you think it is. It
Mm.
isn't a sense of pride. It isn't a sense of being accomplished. It is, and yet at the same time, it feels more accomplished than ever.
Mm.
It's a emptiness of richness and a richness of emptiness, and it is really weird. So all I can say is it's hard to explain. If you want to know the secretness of heart, I would recommend looking up ancient philosophers who've traveled down this road, and studying them, or starting that journey yourself and start digging into who you truly are at the base of everything. And that requires a lot, many hours, many hours beyond that, many hours of self meditation and prayer, and entering into that life. Um, and a lot of times people don't reach that unless they are monks. Um,
Mhm.
like, I mean, a great example would be Nyla said Confucius. Monks from that time. You could include Buddha. Buddha was very wise. He was
Mm-hmm.
wise because he spent so much time not in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but thinking of himself and beyond the world, right? And also true for many, many saints in the Christian universe as well. So, um, if you want to know more about that, Sawale, sorry for going down this road for so long. If you want to know more about that, there's plenty of material you can study among the saints, um, and things. But yeah, good luck on that. That's a journey. That's a big journey that
It is.
I've only begun to start, and I know Joe's probably also only begun to start. So
Well, I feel like I've only begun to start.
yeah.
And it's weird. Like
So
the farther you go down that path, the more you realize you don't know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the more you go, that's why I said it's so hard to explain to begin with,
Right.
because I don't like fully understand it. But then the more I understand, the more I realize I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a journey. Um, so yeah, get excited for that. If that had excited you, Sally, please let me know because um, I'm excited as well for
Mm-hmm.
you if you are excited because it's awesome. That's awesome. Um, if you're not excited, if no one in the chat was excited about that, it was like, wow, that sounds awful. That doesn't sound fun at all. Sounds like a bunch of hullabaloo or nonsense. That's totally respectable, and I respect that
Mm-hmm.
opinion. It's totally fine. So, anyways, yeah. Anyways, I talked for quite a while on that. My apologies. Joe, do you have anything you want to add
You're
beyond
always
that?
apologizing for going so long, man.
It's bad.
You're fine.
I'm the worst.
You're
All right.
fine. You're doing great. And you look great too. I mean, really, I don't have a whole lot to add to this. Um, and honestly, this is such a deep topic. And I really
Mhm.
think I'd like to hear what Princess has to say. Princess, did you have something you would want to talk about on this topic?
Ooh, I didn't realize that.
Just a little. I'm not going to go as deep as you guys because again, what you're really focusing on is what is self, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one half of this. But again, the largest part of be yourself is often used for people who are hiding or feel like they're hiding their real selves, right? That they
Mm-hmm.
aren't being honest with others. And
Yeah, yeah.
they're
Fair.
beating themselves up of like, oh, I wouldn't have any friends if I was the real me, you know.
Mhm.
And people often say be yourself because you'll find that, you know, when you aren't being yourself, you're disguising yourself, you're hiding yourself, often out of fear, right? That's generally what people have come to this show talking about when they've talked about that and have received the advice of be yourself. It's about being open. It's about not running away or worrying about how others are going to look at you. Not
Mm-hmm.
because you're not having that fear inside yourself, but because you're stepping beyond that with courage to move forward and show yourself so that you can prove that you can be honest with others. And in that honesty, that others can reciprocate to you honesty about themselves. And there you and build a real, true relationship rather than feeling like you've built a false relationship because you haven't been honest.
Mm-hmm.
So that I would say is most times when people are talking about being yourself, what they're really saying is be honest with others
Mm-hmm.
and be honest with yourself, you know?
Mm.
If you're doing things because you think other people will like them, that isn't necessarily bad, but you might not need to be doing that. You know, it reminds me of in college. There were times where I took tests where I answered the test to the best of my knowledge. I had studied and done all the work, and here I was ready for this test. And I took it. I gave all my honest answers as best as I could, and generally I did well. But I did it. And
That's
then there
because
was
you're awesome.
tests where I sat down and I looked up at the teacher and I looked down at the paper and I looked back up at the teacher and I looked back down at the paper, looked at the questions and thought, what does this teacher want my response to be? Not what I thought was right. What do they think is right? What do they want to hear from
Mm.
me?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And those tests still went relatively well, but they were a lot harder.
I've taken those
And
tests.
they were just great, and I didn't learn from them, right?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
All I was doing was, well, I learned more about the teacher, their preferences, but you know, I wasn't learning the actual content itself. I was simply learning about my teacher and what they wanted to hear and catering to that, right? Rather than having a real relationship with the material that I was learning, that I wanted to know, like, sciencey stuff, like DNA or RNA, or how does this molecular system work? It was like, well, what do they want to hear rather than what is the honest truth? So I think the others have really covered well on how to get to the path of discovery of self, which is just a whole bunch of contemplation, seeing what you do, what you feel is right, and understanding that you can change who you are. Being yourself is not a static thing, right? It's
Yeah, it
not
is.
static P either.
It's
True.
totally a
It's
static
true. It's
thing.
not a static thing, because if it's a static thing, then you guys are all me, and that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be me.
But it's a very dynamic thing that changes over time as we change and grow. So the best that I've got for be yourself is about being honest. And sometimes being honest isn't the best, right? Because again, sometimes being yourself, you're not a very nice yourself at the moment. Or you don't have that understanding, or you haven't learned about things. Like, I had somebody who passed away, and I had one of the first people who happened to be there, and I reached out to them about it. They didn't approach it with an understanding and empathy that I was looking for. And, they were being themselves with me because, again, we have that type of relationship. And I was honest, too, about myself in that I loved them and I appreciated that they wanted to be there for me, but that their words were not, I was not able to respond to their words in a way that I would like because I was wounded by them. And we worked it out, you know? They were understanding, and they came to figure out, oh, well, I was myself in that moment. I was curious. I wanted answers. But I realized that that wasn't necessarily the right thing to do. And in that, they grew to learn to understand, holding other people's emotions or maybe their mental states or that sort of thing in mind as well, to be considerate. Not so much so that they are just looking for and feeding me what I want to hear, but to be honest and to have an actual connection and conversation. So that's the best that I've got over here. I'll turn it back to the lovely hosts.
The lovely
Hey.
hosts. We're not the
Princess, that
lovely
was-
ones on this show, actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's pretty true. I'm only half lovely. Which is half as much lovely as you, Princess. Princess, that was fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, that was on point. I really like what you said about being open. Be yourself means to be open. And another way, this is a bit interesting of a word, but it sometimes means to be intimate. Intimate is an openness of self without without being surface level, right? Because there's surface level speech and there's intimate speech, right? Intimate means to really allow yourself to be completely open, right? Which means you're allowing yourself to be wounded, but you're also allowing yourself to form a deeper connection. And so usually people don't mean that far when they say be yourself, but I think ultimately that would be the end point of that statement, of the extreme, rather, the extreme. But yeah, just being open and honest. I think that was really well said.
I agree.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good job.
There's a little
Good job, I
bit.
agree.
I want to tell you something, Saule. Resources. Where to look for this kind of stuff. Ryan talked about looking into old philosophers. That's a great place to go. I would recommend the Stoics. So you've got like Marcus Aurelius. I forget. If you just look up Stoic philosophers, you're gonna find a bunch. Like Stoic philosophy is one of my favorites. You can look into lots of different religious writings. In many, many religions, there is truth. Otherwise, it would not exist anymore. A religion would not exist if it didn't have any truth in it, right? So there's truth in them somewhere. Now, I'm Catholic, Ryan's Catholic, so we find that to be the most truth, right? Otherwise, we'd be something else, right? I mean, it just kind of goes to state.
Correct.
In the Bible, Saule, specifically the Book of Ecclesiastes.
I was going to say Ecclesiastes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to read the whole thing and look at it from that perspective of emptying and coming to understand, oh, I'm bigger than I think I am, but I'm also way smaller than I think I am.
Yep, exactly. Well, and it's crazy because here's a book, like the Book of Ecclesiastes was written by King Solomon. Now let's talk about King Solomon a little bit. Here was the richest man in the history of ever.
Ever, including now.
Ever. Nobody has ever surpassed his wealth. Ever. So he had the most resources available. He could do whatever he wanted. Dude had 900 wives.
We wish he didn't. We really wish he didn't.
Oh my gosh. Whoa, that blows my mind. Like, oh my gosh. So, like, anyway, so he wrote this, right? And so he went down all these paths that he thought were going to be fulfilling. All these different paths that were, that he was thinking were going to be just, this is going to fulfill me. This is going to satisfy me. And you know what? He found a dead end at like almost all of them. He built all kinds of different things. He achieved all kinds of different things. He accomplished so much. He did business deals, global business deals at a time when they were still, riding in sailboats. Right? And I mean, it's just incredible. So when he wrote that book, and it's very interesting. I would definitely read that. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Read the Book of Ecclesiastes. It'll give you a really good perspective. And one thing I really, really, really want to make sure I touch on this, and I know this is gonna take this topic probably all the way to the end of the show, and I apologize, but this topic is so rich, really. I mean, you think about it. There's so much you could talk about.
Yeah,
we won't even scratch the surface.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I tell you, okay. Ryan has talked about this so much, and I'm surprised he didn't. So I'm going to talk about it.
Go for it.
How do you have a fulfilling life? How do you have a life that you will feel the most fulfilled? You'll have the most happiness. You'll have the most satisfaction. Virtue. Live with virtue. Figure out virtues. You can look up the cardinal virtues, the 7 cardinal virtues, as opposed to the 7 deadly sins, right? They combat each other. So the 7, I think it's cardinal virtues. I don't know, maybe.
Yes, if you're talking about 7, I think it's cardinal.
Yep. And then they directly oppose the 7 deadly sins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. A lot of times when people say be yourself, there's this whole thing about, hey, live like you don't have to apologize to anybody. Just be who you are. Don't care what everybody else thinks. Okay, that's cool. And then some people take that to say, well, I should just be able to do whatever I want then, right? Do what I want. Live with total licentiousness. But here's the thing. What if I decide I want to smoke crack?
You're going to be enslaved to crack.
Yeah. It creates an addiction. I can tell you from experience through watching other people with different substances of that nature, they are not themselves. They're not themselves when they're jonesing because they're addicted to some kind of substance, right? Maybe you're the greatest artist in the world. Maybe you're the greatest artist and you can create just the most incredible art ever. But you're addicted to heroin. The art you make is not going to be genuinely your art because you're going to be either under the influence of the substance itself or under the influence of the withdrawal symptoms. Right? So that's not free. That's not being yourself. So we can't just go willy-nilly and be like, well, I'm just being myself. I'm doing whatever the heck I want, whatever. No. Virtue. is important. And that's why. Because virtues will lead to a real, true freedom in our lives for us to be free to be ourselves, to be our best selves. And Saule, I know, I'm pretty sure that you're a Christian.
Yes.
Not a Catholic, but a Christian, I think.
Yeah.
And-
I'm 90% sure on that, if I remember correctly.
So, but either way, like Catholics are Christians too. Like we're all Christians, right? Okay. So here's the thing. And I was actually talking to Ryan's brother this morning today about all this. I know we got every time me and Kyle have a conversation, whoa, right?
It lasts a while.
It lasts. We had a 3-hour conversation. Most of it was about legal documents that I need to get. But
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
it was.
Anyways.
It's insane. But at any rate, we were talking, and it was like, really, okay, Christian, not Catholic. In the Christian faith, everything we do, everything that we choose, it kind of all boils down to one moment. And that's the moment where you're standing before God at the end of your life. And what are we doing in each decision? Now we are free to do what we want. We're free. We are built with certain, desires. We're built with certain, predilections and predispositions of things that we want to do, talents and skill, all these different things that we can do. But the question is, how do we do those things in relation to that moment? And really, I talked about shedding yourself of desires, right? And I apologize for everybody who's not religious. This is a little bit religious, maybe a lot. But I have to ask myself, okay, here's my new prayer that I pray a lot now. God, help me to want what you want. Because really, we talk about God, in Christianity. We talk about God in all these, in whatever. God loves us. He created us. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to enjoy. Now, obviously, there's going to be suffering. Obviously, there's going to be pain. There's going to be things that we deal with, right? But he loves us. And he loves all of us. And that's the reason why, like, a lot of times when we do something that's quote unquote sinful, it's either going to hurt us or it's going to hurt those around us. And he loves all of us the same. Infinite. Right? So the question is, how am I doing these things that's going to lead me to that moment? That's going to lead me to that moment where I stand before God and he either says, "Depart from me, I never knew you," or, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," enter into whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, all the things we do, all the things we talk about and yap about and get all upset about and run around and spout about, fighting over whether we should wear masks or not, or get shots or not, or fighting over all these things, like I can just picture my ancestors up in heaven looking down and going, none of that matters. Like, love each other, for Pete's sake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stop it. So to be yourself, yes, you should live a life where you don't have to apologize for being who you are. But really, we're all going to make mistakes, so we are going to have to apologize. That's a part of being yourself. None of us are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But really, man, look at Ecclesiastes, dig into the Stoics, dig into some of these philosophers. I mean, there's Socrates, there's Plato, there's a bunch of guys from the BC, right? And even they understood a lot of this stuff. People are people, and life is life. And it always has been that way. We just have different tools now than they had back then. But we're made of the same stuff. And we experience emotion the same. And we experience these deep questions the same. And I'm proud of you for asking a question like this.
Me too.
And I'm sorry the answer took so long, and we haven't even answered it. We've just given you some ideas based on what we've experienced, because we know we haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
And we're going to be figuring it out forever. So I don't know. That's basically what I have. I'm sorry for keeping you. Ryan, wrap it up.
I just want to hit on one point again, to maybe solidify something that was already said. But when we speak about emptying yourself from desire, right? Because desire is a good thing. It's an earthly thing, and it's a human thing, and it is a good thing, right? It moves us forward. But when you remove yourselves from your desire, you start to get rid of all this extra nonsense, and you're able to peer in, and you are left with only you remaining, right? That's the spot that you want to get to before you start analyzing who you are. Does that make sense? Once you empty yourself of all of these things, of your worries, of the nonsense that goes on throughout your day, of all of the stuff, and you're left with nothing except for yourself, you realize you are not all of these things. All of these things are what happened to you. They are your experiences, but they don't make you who you are. You are not the you are shaped by your experiences, right? But your experiences aren't you. They're separate. They're experiences, right? They can't be you, right? You aren't an experience. And similar, you aren't a desire. You are something beyond that. But you have to do away with all of these other things before you can get down to who you really are inside. And that's the troubling difficulty of the study. And so that's why it's a lot easier, actually, for the ancient world to study themselves than it is now, because now we have all of these distractions in our world, right? We have a constant surplus of things calling out for our attention. At any moment in time, you can find some entertainment to occupy your time with, right? In the ancient world, what do they have? Well, I already read all those books. No, there's nothing left. I got literally nothing to do.
I'm gonna go examine a blade of grass.
Yeah, that's not what I'm gonna. Yeah,
for a
right. Yeah,
day.
basically.
Look at this
And if you're
cool
interested in
rock. I'm gonna examine the stars. Think about, we take for granted the constellations that are out there.
True.
We take for granted the fact that we can notice planets. They did, they were like, oh, the sky looks this way, but wait, the sky looks this way again tonight, except for that one. Is in a little bit different place. And why is it a little bit brighter and it doesn't twinkle?
That's right. Why isn't it twinkling anymore?
That's a different type of thing.
I love how your eyebrow raised at the end of the sentence. That was great. But anyways, yeah, good luck with that. I encourage everybody to enter into more meditation, more silence. That's very good for the soul. But anyways, let's conclude the show. Hey, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Sally, for the fantastic topic. Of course, that we quite enjoyed it. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something, or you got excited about something, or you felt encouraged to do something today by us. If not, then hey, thanks for sticking around through the suffering, and we appreciate you. We love you guys, and we really hope to see you guys next time as well. So if you have the time, come join us.
It'll be on a Wednesday.
Yeah, Joe might not be here, actually.
Is that
correct?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be out of town.
We'll have a special guest next Wednesday.
Yep, unless I'm not out of town. It's about 90%, 99% sure.
Whoa. Wow. 99. Well, 1%
I mean,
chance, guys.
I even got a text message from my sister-in-law today saying, "Hey, I'm going to the grocery store tomorrow. Is there anything you want me to pick up for when you're here?" So like,
Ah,
so I think it's happening. If she's going to the store, it's
yeah.
probably happening. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll figure out somebody to be here with you, right?
Yep. We'll find someone.
So
I
no
mean,
more getting
Princess is
COVID.
probably gonna be here, so the show should be good. So yeah,
Perfect.
perfect.
Amazing.
Well, I guess you guys will find out who we got next week,
Mhm.
only if you show up. So
That's right.
there's some incentive for you. Not that you need it. You're gonna show up anyways because you like the show. But yeah. Anyways, we love you guys. Thank you all so much for joining us. See you next week. Bye bye.
Later, guys. Love you.